Welcome to Fireside Knicks. My name is Alex with my co-host here, Brett Hamfling. And we're here to talk about the Knicks. We're here to talk about this loss yesterday to the Brooklyn Nets, the comments Julius Randle had and Tom Thibodeau. There seems to be a lot of animosity, a lot of negative energy going towards the officiating, and I think it's well-deserved. Personally, obviously, we're biased as Knicks fans, but at the same time, we watched James Harden and Kevin Durant get to the line 10 combined times, and Julius Randle's bulldozing his way to the rim and not getting any calls, and we want to talk about that. I want to talk about the loss, what we're seeing, how the Knicks are kind of consistently inconsistent, but the silver linings of the last couple of games and what we're seeing, obviously post Kemba Walker. Before we dive into all this good stuff though, Brett, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm good, Alex. Thank you. I'm good. Like you said, it was a tough loss. It was a good game, a fun game, and it's always tough to lose against the crosstown rival. But I'm feeling good coming out of that game. I'm not a big moral loss guy. We talked about this. We've talked about this before. But the Nets are one of the best teams in the league. As much as we want to hate on them, they are now first in the East at 15-6. Harden's starting to play better after a slow start. Obviously, Durant's one of the best players in the world. They went toe-to-toe with them, and they lost by 2. And they lost in a shitty way. Mitchell Robinson putting his hand in the cookie jar and not going vertical when, we got the ball out of their best player's hands to probably their worst offensive player's hands. So it's a tough loss, but as I said, it's to a really good team. I hate to say it, but it's to a really good team. So I'm okay this morning.
That's all we can hope for, being okay. I think we competed against a very good team, like you said, losing by 2 points, really coming down to the free throw line. The one thing that really irked me was that late tech on Julius Randle.
Yeah.
You got to maintain your composure, even if you have things to say, even if you have, bad things to say about the officiating as he did after the game. You can't get techs at the end of the game. You lost by 2 points. That difference right there is the difference between, having an opportunity to take a 2-point shot or a 3-point shot. Like it's really the probability of scoring goes many different directions, and then
Right.
it forces Brooklyn to do different things. It's really ends up being a significant part. You have to maintain your composure. I know Thibodeau was also going after the officiating crew as well. He said he was really pissed about it. Julius Randle, I'll read off some of his quotes, and I'll tell you what, like he definitely has a point, and I want to talk about that. He says, got to ask them basically about the reality that he wasn't getting the same calls as Kevin Durant and James Harden. He was too strong, apparently. He said, I don't know what they're watching, what they're seeing. As aggressive as I played, attacking the paint, I can't be penalized for being stronger than people. And that is an answer that I got today. They said because of certain contact doesn't affect me like it affects other players. Because I am stronger, they miss the calls. I see that makes absolutely zero sense to me, Brett. Like, how are you feeling about that? Because I also
that's BS. It really is. I mean, we've sort of have gone through this with LeBron back in the years. Like, being strong and being able to absorb contact is a positive. It's an advantage. The ref shouldn't be leveling the field by that. Julius Randle works hard. He has an awesome body. That's not how you're supposed to referee the game. And I wasn't actually that pissed while watching the game. I did. There was an obvious free throw discrepancy. There were a couple on calls on Randle that I thought should have been called, but hearing that quote made me mad because that's one of his big advantages. Now, Harden is a professional free throw getter. Durant, since he's one of the best players in the world, also he doesn't look for the contact as much. So naturally, the Nets are probably going to shoot a few more free throws. But the discrepancy, so the Nets went to the line 28 times. The Knicks, where is this? The Knicks 12. That's a big discrepancy. So it's tough. And when the game comes down to a 2-point game, these free throws matter. The tech was just bad by Julius being the leader and captain of our team. Under a minute left, you just can't have that. And like I said, I'm pissed about the free throws, but hopefully going forward, it's maybe a positive that this all came out with the ref quote, and it's getting retweeted and people are talking about it because Julius, we need him to be aggressive. He was aggressive tonight. He only shot 2 threes, which was a positive, I think. I was happy with how he played, and maybe going forward, he'll get more calls.
I mean, he defended Kevin Durant really well.
Yeah.
I was very, very impressed with Julius Randle. He wanted to win that game. He put out max energy, and we've seen him be a little bit lackadaisical at times this season. I thought he looked great. But I will say, when the officiating is not giving calls, and this pisses me off, right? Like I am very emotional about this because I think it promotes exactly what the NBA is trying to avoid, right? When you're giving soft contact fouls to Kevin Durant and James Harden, like you said, professional free throw go-getters, basically, when you're giving them fouls for soft contact or just BS calls because they're superstars, it really irks me because Julius Randle is a star, right? He's the best player on the Knicks. He's considered a star. And when he's bulldozing his way, he's getting hit, he's getting bumped, he's getting absolutely hack jobbed on his way to the rim, and he's not getting the calls because he's too strong. It promotes flopping. It promotes emphasizing being hit. It promotes going with your arms flying in the air. It promotes trying to get a call. That is what the NBA is trying to get away from. They're trying to avoid floppers. They're trying to get away from guys making a big scene after getting hit. And by saying you're too strong and we're not giving the calls because you're actually powering through is totally opposite of what they're trying to accomplish. And I think it's absolute nonsense with these soft fouls, these weak fouls, because Harden over here flings his arms in the air, because he gets touched or poked. And I don't even know how they see half of these fouls. I know, like you said, Mitchell Robinson kind of put his hand in the cookie jar, but I think he got some ball there too. I think they should have reviewed that. They reviewed the one before.
I think they did. Did they not?
I don't think they reviewed that one at the end. They only reviewed the one prior to that.
I don't think
it was tipped off.
There was some ball. I don't think they would have overturned it. He's so big, and James Johnson's not a solid player, but he's not that skilled of an offensive player. If he goes fully vertical, that becomes a really tough shot. And Mitch was complaining on Twitter. He said he was pushed in the back, which I have to watch it, and he probably was. But I don't know. That ending's frustrating because you go toe to toe with crosstown rival, one of the best teams in the league, and you don't want to lose on free throws. Would it have hurt if Kevin Durant hit a stone cold 25-footer? Probably, yes, it would have. But it would have. I actually don't know which I'd rather. This didn't hurt as much. It just felt sort of weird because we didn't give the game away, but we didn't take it at the end. I don't know, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, look, we simply lost this game because of free throws, right? I mean, Harden had 10 free throw attempts. He hit 9 of them. Kevin Durant hit all 9 of 9 of his free throws. We lost because of free throws. And which, can be obviously correlated to officiating. I thought that the defense, look, the Brooklyn Nets are going to score 100 plus points every game. That is, they have some of the best players on the planet, arguably one of the best scorers in history, maybe the best scorer in history in Kevin Durant. So, when you are playing guys like this, you cannot stop them. You can just try to limit them. Julius Randle did a great job defending Kevin Durant. Again, not enough because James Harden was just on fire. Every time he drove to the basket, it was an easy layup. The interior guys did not put enough pressure on him. I think Mitchell Robinson looked like a shell of himself because of his illness. He was sick. And so was RJ Barrett, who left at halftime, and that ended up being, tough because we needed his defense as well. I thought Evan Fournier had a couple of good moments. He had that 3 to tie the game at the end. His defense, again, is absolutely horrendous. He does not even appear. He is basically a ghost. You could walk through that man on defense. He does not even do anything. He's just a shooter. That's it.
Yeah. I would like to talk about some of the positives, though. I love when you get worked up about the negatives because you get pissed and you're right about everything. But a couple of the positives: Alec Burks in his second start of the season. It's funny we haven't even talked about Kemba. Obviously, Kemba sort of demoted out of the rotation yesterday before the game or 2 days ago. Alec Burks in the starting role. He's not a true point guard, but he can handle point guard duties. He's become what he is a professional scorer. He had 25 points last night, 4 threes, 9 of 21 from the field, a couple big threes. He's a fourth quarter player. They call him Mr. Fourth Quarter, Mr. Big Shot. The emergence of Alec Burks has given this team another big time scorer, another leader, and I'm thrilled about it. What do you think about Burks and maybe some of the positives from the game?
Look, he is my big silver lining from the last couple of games. I mean, that guy I cannot believe he's been just hanging out on the bench with the second team. Like, he is a capable scorer. He's an efficient
Yeah.
scorer. And the one thing I love about Alec Burks is he doesn't just disappear in games, right? Every game, you get the same version of Alec Burks. He's not Kemba Walker, where he's going to put up 5 points and then he's going to put up 25 points. He's going to put up 2 points. Every single game, Alec Burks shows up and he plays well, right? The last 2 games, 23 points against Atlanta. He shot 57% from 3-point range, 41% from the field over 39 minutes. Same exact minutes against Brooklyn last night, 39 minutes, 25 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds. He also collects rebounds, right? He's also a good defender in terms of boxing out, getting some rebounds, a good body. He gets some assists. He's not going to get 8 to 10 assists a game, but 3 to 5 is where we kind of need him to be, because Julius Randle is really, you want him to be that physical presence, driving inside, kicking the ball out to the corners. I like him in that way. I also love the Alec Burks and Emmanuel Quickley combination. I like the Alec Burks and Derrick Rose combination. And ultimately, I think that Burks is our true and tried, point guard moving forward. What do you think?
Well, Burks should be playing borderline starter minutes. Now, I do like him with the starting rotation. We did see a little bit at the end of the game. There was a couple possessions we didn't get in great sets because he's not a true point guard. He can set up guys, but he's not a true point guard. But I wanted to touch also on Emmanuel Quickley, which was a big positive from yesterday's game, but really more the last couple of weeks. He's been awesome. He had a slow start, but he's a confident player. He never let it get to him. Sorry. And he's just been awesome. First of all, his defense has stepped up big time because, he doesn't have great size, but he's quick and he's smart, pun intended with the quick. And he's been awesome on defense. His shooting has been great. He can take big defenders off the dribble. So, that was a big part of Kemba sort of being demoted out of the rotation. Quickley has been stepping up. I wouldn't be pissed if Quickley was the starting point guard. Now, I think he's awesome with the bench. I think he plays well with Obi Toppin. I think he plays well on that second unit that gives us energy and life. But listen, these are good problems to have. Both Burks and Quickley are playing really good.
Yeah, and I just stumbled across a thread of different plays throughout this game that were just completely missed fouls. I mean, Kevin Durant in the fourth quarter has the most obvious double dribble I think I've ever seen in my life, and then he kicks it out. He actually ends up putting Julius Randle on the floor, but he literally dribbles, clutches it with 2 hands, continues dribbling, and then clutches it with 2 hands again, and then passes it to Harden that ends up draining it. It's just like where how are you missing this? I mean, he does it there. And then Harden does it again later on. He takes 2 steps while he's holding the ball with 2 hands. And then he does that. I don't know if you saw it. He does that thing? Yeah, he jumps in the middle. I remember watching that, and I saw it, and I was like, that looks like a foul to me, a turnover. I mean, there's a couple of scenarios. People are posting clips throughout the game, and it's like the refs are just missing constant calls on Brooklyn. I think the Knicks have a legitimate beef and a justification with this one. Oftentimes, you can probably say, okay, like maybe that's if so. But the Nets really got away with a murder last night, and I think that's a big talking point that we've discussed already. But I will say, I want to jump back to the Kemba Walker thing quickly. I think that Emmanuel Quickley, I've been hounding with my writing. I've been very aggressive with my writing, saying that Quickley should be replacing the minutes of Kemba Walker. I'm very happy to see that they've done that. Quickley's been getting a ton of action, and I think that ultimately he needs to be. He is a good fucking scorer. I'm sorry for my language, but he's a freaking great scorer, and I think that he should be taking more shots. He doesn't take enough shots. He passes up some. When they're giving him a couple feet of room, I think he should be pulling up. Ultimately, he played 38 minutes yesterday. He only had 12 points, but he didn't take that many shots. He shot 40% from 3-point range. I mean, he's a good player. He had 7 assists against Atlanta, 4 assists against Phoenix. I'd love to see him just start taking more shots. He had 7 rebounds last night. That's crazy for Emmanuel Quickley. I don't think I've ever seen him get that many rebounds in a game before. But ultimately, like, his presence on the court is astronomical. He's a press defender. He gets in your face. He's tantalizing. He guards the perimeter exceptionally well. And his abilities in transition stand out to me, right? He's great with Obi Toppin. There was multiple times where Obi Toppin was running down the floor, wide open. Derrick Rose missed him. Emmanuel Quickley hits him in stride. Like, he has the chemistry with him. I'd love to see more of that.
They have this sort of same draft class connection, which is funny. I mean, they're not, Obi's older, they're not the same age, but they came in the league at the same time. They do probably all the pre-draft stuff, and then all the training camp stuff. They were probably on by each other's side, and yeah, they really have a connection. That's sort of why it's tough, I think, or maybe it's smart to keep Quickly in that second unit. But he's really emerging. He's been one of our two or three best players the last 6 or 7 games for sure. Especially when RJ was struggling. So, I'm really thrilled about Quickly.
Yeah, me too. I really think he's a piece to build on for the future. But I'm excited, guys. We have the Chicago Bulls coming up next. A really tough team.
It's
the
a
Knicks
big one.
They've dropped one against them. They've won one against them. They have Vucevic back. I mean, they're a team that's playing really well right now. It's going to be tough, but I think Alec Burks has the talent for us on the starting team, can really help us start games faster. I mean, the Bulls have lost 3 of their last 5 games, so that's a good sign for the Knicks. They did just score 133 points against the Hornets, so that's definitely not ideal. But it's going to come down to limiting their 3 points, right? Their 3-point shots. You have Zach LaVine, you got Lonzo. You got to limit those guys as shooters. If you can do that, you have a pretty good chance of winning. The Knicks will be hosting them. So, of course, we know the Knicks do not play very well at MSG, which is kind of strange, but hopefully they can turn that around with the new combination of the starting unit with Alec Burks featuring. But, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Fireside Knicks. Make sure to subscribe below on YouTube and Spotify and Apple. Really appreciate all the love. And we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Knicks episode.